In the heart of a bustling Italian city, the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow over the cobblestone streets that thrived with life. The aroma of rich espresso mingled with the enticing scent of freshly baked pastries wafting from the nearby cafe. Mia, a striking red-haired woman in her late 20s, navigated her way through the throng of people, wearing a crisp white apron over her fitted black dress. She worked as a waitress in one of the city's high-end restaurants, known for its exquisite cuisine and exclusive clientele. Each day was a whirlwind of orders and smiles, a performance she had perfected over the years. Before the story unfolds, thank you for being here. These romances are still growing, just like this space. If you feel connected to this story, please like and subscribe. Your support truly makes a difference. Now, let me tell you the story. Mia prided herself on her independence and strong will. Life had not always been easy, but she had learned to stand on her own 2 feet. As she maneuvered between tables, she greeted her regular customers with genuine warmth, her green eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Yet, behind her cheerful facade lay a yearning for something more, a desire for adventure, for a life that felt less ordinary. That evening was like any other until a sudden hush fell over the restaurant. Mia glanced toward the entrance, her heart catching in her throat. A tall figure stepped inside, exuding an air of danger and magnetism that captivated everyone in the room. Luca, the infamous Mafia boss, had arrived. His dark hair was slicked back, and his tailored suit clung to his muscular frame, hinting at the power he wielded. As he crossed the threshold, the atmosphere shifted. It was as if the world outside had faded. Mia felt her breath hitch as their eyes met. It was a brief moment, yet it lingered, electric and charged. She could see the confidence radiating from him, the kind of confidence that commanded respect and fear in equal measure. But beneath that imposing exterior, she sensed a deep well of vulnerability that intrigued her. Just as she was about to turn away, a sudden crash erupted from the kitchen. A stack of plates had toppled, shattering on the floor. The distraction broke the spell, and Mia rushed to help, her heart pounding. She couldn't shake the image of Luca from her mind. Who was he, really? And why did she feel such an immediate connection to him? It was unsettling, and yet, an undeniable curiosity began to bloom within her. As she returned to the floor, the restaurant bustled around her, but her thoughts were fixed on the enigmatic man now seated at the corner table, flanked by his associates. They laughed and shared stories, but Mia couldn't shake the feeling that their laughter masked deeper, darker realities. Luca, with his piercing gaze, occasionally met her eyes, and each time, a rush of warmth ignited in her chest. Mia's shift continued, filled with fleeting glances exchanged between her and Luca. She served dish after dish, each encounter more intense than the last. It was unspoken, the connection that hung in the air like a fragile thread, one that could snap at any moment but also had the potential to draw them closer together. After what felt like an eternity, the night wound down. The restaurant quieted, and the last of the patrons began to file out. Mia wiped her brow, exhausted but exhilarated. She caught one final glimpse of Luca as he stood to leave. He turned toward her, a slight smile playing on his lips, and for a heartbeat, she felt as though the world had stopped. Then, with a nod, he was gone, leaving a void that felt both exhilarating and devastating. What was it about him that had her heart racing? As she closed up for the night, Mia couldn't shake the encounter from her mind. She was drawn to him, despite the danger he symbolized. Later that night, as she lay in bed, the shadows of her room danced against the walls, illuminated by the soft glow of the streetlights outside. Her thoughts spiraled, weaving between the mundane details of her life and the extraordinary presence of Luca. Was she ready to step into a world so different from her own? Would she dare to explore what lay beyond the safety of her everyday life? The questions lingered in her mind, leaving her restless. As sleep finally pulled her under, a new chapter seemed to beckon just beyond the horizon. Little did she know that her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined, and the man who had entered her life so suddenly would become a central figure in her unfolding story. As the night deepened, Mia's dreams were filled with shadows and light, the clash of her ordinary world against the tantalizing allure of the unknown. And it all began with a simple glance, one that would lead her down a path filled with intrigue, danger, and unexpected romance. Mia awoke the next morning, her heart still racing from the previous night's encounter. She felt as if the air had changed around her, charged with an energy she couldn't quite place. The sun streamed through her window, illuminating her auburn hair, casting playful shadows against the walls of her modest apartment. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and took a deep breath, trying to shake off the lingering thoughts of Luca, the mysterious Mafia boss who had appeared so suddenly in her life. As she prepared for her day, Mia reflected on her routine. Every morning, she would brew a cup of strong coffee, the rich aroma filling her kitchen, providing comfort in her otherwise predictable life. She would often daydream about adventures beyond the confines of her job at the restaurant, wondering if there was more to life than serving meals and cleaning up after affluent patrons. Yet, the thought of stepping into the unknown filled her with both excitement and trepidation. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. With a determined nod, she dressed in her standard waitressing uniform, a crisp white shirt and black trousers, before heading out the door. The city bustled with life, pedestrians hurried along the sidewalks, cars honked in the distance, and the scent of fresh pastries wafted through the air from a nearby bakery. Mia loved her city, its vibrancy, and the stories hidden in every corner. But today, as she walked toward the restaurant, her mind was preoccupied with thoughts of Luca, the way his dark eyes had held hers, full of secret promises and unspoken words. Arriving at the restaurant, Mia was met with the familiar sounds of clattering dishes and chatter. She started her shift, moving gracefully through the dining room, serving guests with her signature smile. Yet, every so often, her thoughts drifted back to the man who had captured her intrigue. What was he really like beneath that tough exterior? Did he have a life beyond the power and danger that surrounded him? As she poured coffee for a regular customer, she overheard snippets of conversation that sent chills down her spine. A group of men at the table beside her spoke in hushed tones, their words laced with tension and fear. "Luca's not just a boss, he's the king of this city," one of them said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You don't want to cross him. His reach goes further than you think." Mia paused, her heart racing. The implications of their words sunk in. Luca wasn't merely a man, he was a force to be reckoned with. This revelation ignited her curiosity further, but it also filled her with an unsettling sense of dread. How could she feel drawn to someone so powerful, so dangerous? The allure of the Mafia life was intoxicating, yet she had always prided herself on being independent and self-sufficient. That evening, as her shift came to an end, Mia found herself lingering in the restaurant, hesitating to leave. She was drawn to the idea of seeing Luca again, to understanding the man behind the reputation. It was a dangerous game she was playing, but the thrill of it was like a siren's call. Would she take the plunge, or would she retreat to the safety of her predictable life? Just as she was about to head home, the door swung open, and in walked Luca, his presence commanding attention in the crowded room. He scanned the space, his gaze landing on her with an intensity that made her breath hitch. Mia felt a rush of warmth wash over her, igniting a spark of hope mixed with anxiety. Did he remember her? Did he feel the same magnetic pull toward her as she did toward him? Luca approached her, confidence radiating from him like a warm light. "Mia, right?" he asked, his voice low and smooth. The way he said her name sent shivers down her spine. "You have a way of making a long day feel a little brighter." She opened her mouth to respond, but all that came out was a nervous laugh. "Thank you. I try," she finally managed, her heart racing. The tension between them was palpable, a dance of unspoken words and emotions swirling in the air. For a moment, it felt as though the rest of the world faded away, leaving just the two of them standing in the quiet storm of their connection. "I was hoping I might see you again," he confessed, his dark eyes locking onto hers, sending a flutter of excitement through her. Mia felt herself blush, taken aback by his directness. "Really? I mean, I wasn't sure if I even made an impression," she replied, trying to maintain her composure. "You did. More than you know," he stated, his tone serious. The sincerity in his voice made her heart flutter. With that, Luca leaned in slightly, his presence enveloping her in a way that felt both exhilarating and frightening. Maybe we could have a conversation that doesn't involve serving food? The suggestion hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Mia hesitated, torn between the urge to say yes and the voice of caution reminding her of the dangers that surrounded him. Yet, the thrill of the unknown ignited a fire within her. "I'd like that," she finally replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Luca's lips curled into a satisfied smile, and for a brief moment, Mia felt as if the universe conspired to bring them together. But in the back of her mind, the warnings echoed. Was she ready to step into his world? As they stepped outside, the cool night air met them, wrapping around them like a shroud. The city lights twinkled above, casting a soft glow on the streets below. Mia felt a mix of excitement and apprehension as they walked side by side. "What do you do when you're not working?" Luca asked, breaking the silence. Mia thought for a moment. "I like exploring the city, finding hidden gems," she admitted. "I guess you could say I'm a bit of a dreamer." "I can see that," he said, a hint of admiration in his voice. "You're not like the others. You see the beauty in the details." Mia's heart soared at his words, feeling a connection that went deeper than mere attraction. But she couldn't ignore the nagging feeling of caution. There was a world of danger lurking beneath his charm and allure. As they reached a quiet corner, Luca turned to her, his expression serious. "Mia, I want you to know that my life is complicated. It's not just about the allure and the power you might see. There are things I must protect, things that could put you in danger." She swallowed hard, the weight of his words sinking in. "I appreciate your honesty," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "But I want to understand you better. Something about you draws me in." Luca studied her for a moment, an unreadable expression on his face. "You're brave, I'll give you that. Just know that getting involved with me isn't a game. It's real, and it comes with risks. And I'm willing to take that risk," Mia said firmly, surprising even herself with the conviction in her voice. Luca smiled, a mixture of admiration and concern. "Then let's see where this leads us." As they stood there, the air thick with possibilities, Mia felt the thrill of the unknown wrap around her like a warm embrace. She was at the precipice of something extraordinary, ready to dive headfirst into the depths of a world filled with danger and passion. She was drawn to Luca, the man with secrets, and she was ready to explore the connection that had sparked between them. As Mia found herself standing in the lushly decorated venue of the exclusive event, her heart raced with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The grandeur of the setting, with its sparkling chandeliers and elegantly adorned tables, felt like a world away from the bustling restaurant where she worked. She was tasked with serving drinks, and as she moved through the crowd, she couldn't shake the thought of Luca, the enigmatic Mafia boss who had captivated her attention only days before. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Mia glanced around the room, taking in the affluent guests clad in designer attire, their laughter and chatter filling the air. It was a stark contrast to her usual environment, and she felt both out of place and exhilarated. She could see Luca across the room, his presence commanding and magnetic. He was talking to a group of men, his demeanor confident yet guarded. Every movement he made seemed to draw the attention of those around him. As she carried a tray of drinks past a table, she caught Luca's gaze. Their eyes locked, and she felt an electric charge between them, a connection that sent a shiver down her spine. He smiled subtly, a knowing grin that made her heart skip a beat. It was as if he was aware of the effect he had on her, and she found herself blushing under the intensity of his stare. Mia took a deep breath to steady herself, reminding herself that she was just a waitress in this world of wealth and power. Still, the allure of Luca was undeniable. There was something about him that pulled her in, a mix of danger and intrigue that she couldn't resist. As she continued to serve drinks, her mind wandered back to their last conversation, the way he had looked at her as if she were the only person in the room. As the evening progressed, Mia's interactions with Luca became more frequent. He would catch her eye and offer a warm smile, and each time, her heart raced a little faster. The chemistry between them was palpable, and she could feel a magnetic pull drawing her closer to him. Each stolen glance felt like a promise of something more. At one point, while she was refilling glasses at the bar, Luca approached her, his expression serious yet inviting. "You're doing a great job, Mia," he complimented, his voice low and smooth. "Thanks, I'm just trying to keep up," she replied, trying to sound casual but failing miserably as her voice trembled slightly. His dark eyes searched hers, and for a moment, the noise of the event faded away. "You don't belong here, you know," he said, almost as if he were making an observation rather than a judgment. Mia felt a mix of emotions at his words. "I don't know what you mean," she replied defensively. "I'm just doing my job." He leaned a little closer, the space between them shrinking until the air felt charged. "You have a light about you, something different. This world can be harsh, and I wouldn't want you to lose that." His concern took her by surprise. "I appreciate that, but I can handle myself," she assured him, the fire in her voice igniting a spark of defiance within her. Luca studied her for a moment, the corner of his mouth curling into a half-smile. "I admire your strength. But strength isn't always enough to protect you from what lurks in the shadows." The weight of his words settled in her chest, making her acutely aware of the world he inhabited. She wanted to know more about him, to understand the layers of his life that he kept hidden. "What about you, Luca? Do you ever feel lost in this world?" she asked, her curiosity getting the better of her. He hesitated, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his features before he masked it with his usual composed facade. "Every day," he confessed softly, his tone genuine. "It's a lonely place, and sometimes, I wish I could escape it." Mia felt a pang of empathy for him. Beneath the tough exterior, she sensed a man who yearned for connection, someone who was more than just a mafia boss. "You don't have to be alone," she offered, surprising herself with her boldness. Luca's gaze softened, and for a brief moment, it felt as if they were the only two people in the room. "You're brave, Mia." "I appreciate that," he said, the sincerity in his voice making her heart flutter. Just then, a commotion erupted at the far end of the venue. Mia turned to see several guests looking alarmed, their conversations abruptly silenced. A group of men, clearly agitated, was being escorted out by security. The atmosphere shifted, and she could feel a tension ripple through the crowd. "Stay close to me," Luca instructed, his voice low but firm. Mia's heart raced not only from the chaos but also from the way he took command of the situation. There was something undeniably protective about him, and it both thrilled and terrified her. As they moved deeper into the venue, she couldn't shake the feeling that danger was lurking just beyond the opulent walls. Luca's hand brushed against hers, igniting a spark that sent her pulse racing. "I can't let anything happen to you," he murmured, as they found refuge in a quieter corner away from the crowd. "Why do you care?" Mia questioned, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm just a waitress." He turned to her, his expression serious. "Because you matter. More than you realize." The intensity of his gaze made her heart skip a beat, and in that moment, she felt a whirlwind of emotions. She was drawn to him, yet aware of the perilous world that surrounded him. Could she trust him? Could she trust herself? As they stood there, the chaos of the event faded into the background, leaving only the two of them suspended in a moment that felt both fragile and electric. As the night unfolded, the atmosphere within the lavish venue took a dark turn. Mia, still reeling from her previous conversation with Luca, felt a chill run down her spine as she heard raised voices echoing from the far end of the room. The laughter and chatter that had filled the air moments ago were abruptly silenced, replaced by a heavy tension that hung like a storm cloud. She instinctively glanced at Luca, who was now scanning the crowd with an intensity that sent a wave of unease through her. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as she stepped closer to him. "Just stay close," he replied, his tone low and firm, a stark contrast to the warmth he had shown her earlier. Mia's heart raced as she followed him through the shifting crowd, her senses heightened. She could feel the heat radiating off him, the way his muscles tensed, ready for anything. "Luca, what's going on?" she pressed, trying to maintain her calm despite the growing uncertainty. "Just a little business," he said cryptically, his eyes still fixed on the commotion unfolding before them. Nothing for you to worry about. But worry was exactly what consumed her. As they reached the edge of the gathering crowd, Mia caught sight of a group of men being forcibly escorted out by security, their faces contorted with anger and disbelief. She recognized one of them, an acquaintance from the restaurant, known for his shady dealings. The realization hit her like a punch. This was no ordinary disagreement. "What did they do?" she whispered, her eyes wide with concern. "They crossed a line," Luca said, his voice steady but laced with an underlying tension. "And now they'll have to face the consequences." Mia's heart sank. She had only wanted to help him, to understand him better, but now she was immersed in a world that felt dangerously unfamiliar. The elegance of the event faded, replaced by the stark realities of Luca's life. "Is that what you meant when you said this world can be harsh? Do you always have to deal with this?" Luca turned to her, his expression softening for just a moment. "It's not always like this, but it's a part of my life. I wish it didn't have to be," he admitted, his vulnerability slicing through the tension like a knife. In that instant, she saw a glimpse of the man behind the Mafia boss facade, a man burdened with responsibilities, haunted by the shadows of his past. It made her heart ache for him. "There has to be another way, Luca. You don't have to carry all of this alone," she offered, feeling the weight of their shared moment. Before he could respond, a loud crash echoed through the venue, drawing their attention back to the chaos. One of the men had broken free from security, lunging toward Luca with a fury in his eyes. "You think you can just push us around? You'll pay for this," he shouted, his voice thick with rage. Mia's breath caught in her throat as Luca moved instinctively in front of her, his body a protective shield. "Get back," he commanded, his voice booming with authority, yet a flicker of concern crossed his face as he glanced over his shoulder at her. "No," she protested, stepping out from behind him, fueled by a mix of fear and defiance. "You can't just let him," but before she could finish, Luca turned back to the aggressor, his expression cold and unwavering. "You need to leave. Now." The tension in the air was palpable as the two men locked eyes, each unwilling to back down. Mia felt the heat rising in her chest, the urgency of the situation unfolding around her. She wanted to scream for them to stop, to find a way to resolve the conflict without violence. Suddenly, Luca's demeanor shifted. "You want to threaten me? You think you can scare me?" he said, his voice low but filled with a simmering power that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. He took a step closer, his presence commanding, leaving no room for doubt. "I don't scare easily, and you'd be wise to remember that." Mia watched in awe as the other man faltered under Luca's unwavering gaze, the fight draining from his posture. It was a moment of raw power, and she realized just how much Luca had to lose. "You don't have to do this," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. "There's always another option." Luca's eyes flickered to hers, the moment stretching between them like a bridge across their worlds. "You don't understand, Mia. This is how it works." "I can't show weakness," he replied, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. "Maybe showing strength means knowing when to walk away," she countered, her heart racing as she stepped closer to him. "You can choose a different path." The tension was thick, and for a moment, it felt as if the world around them had faded away. Then, with an almost imperceptible nod, Luca lowered his gaze, the fight leaving him. "You're right," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Her heart soared, hope igniting within her. But just as it seemed they might find a resolution, the group of men that had been ejected earlier re-entered, their faces twisted with fury. "We're not done here," one of them shouted, pushing through security. Luca's expression hardened again, and Mia felt her stomach drop. "Back to back, Mia," he instructed calmly, positioning himself protectively in front of her once more. She could only nod, her heart pounding in her chest. The realization hit her hard, she was in deeper than she had ever intended, and the stakes were higher than she could have ever imagined. As the night spiraled into chaos, she knew one thing for certain: whatever happened next would change her life forever. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. As the atmosphere in the lavish venue turned chaotic, Mia felt her heart racing. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the air, a cacophony of panic and anger rising as the aggressor lunged toward Luca. She watched, helpless, as the man's face contorted with rage, fueled by a desire for revenge. "You think you can just push us around? You'll pay for this," he shouted, and with those words, the reality of their situation hit her like a brick wall. Luca's response was immediate. He stepped in front of her, shielding her with his body, a primal instinct kicking in. "Get back," he commanded, his voice a deep rumble that tore through the tension in the room. Mia's instinct screamed at her to retreat, but a fierce sense of defiance surged within her. She couldn't let him face this alone. "No," Mia protested, stepping out from behind him, her voice wavering between fear and determination. "You can't just let him." Luca's gaze was stormy as he turned to face her. "Stay behind me, Mia," he ordered, his tone brokering no argument. Yet, she could see the flicker of concern in his eyes, a brief moment where the hard edges of his persona softened. "Please, just listen," she implored, desperate to make him understand. "This doesn't have to end in violence. You can't let anger dictate your actions." The other man's eyes darted between them, sensing the charged atmosphere. "You think you can intimidate me, Luca? You're nothing without your men." Each word dripped with venom, and Mia felt the tension escalate like a taut string ready to snap. Luca's expression hardened again, a mask of ruthless determination settling into place. "You don't know what you're dealing with," he replied, his voice low, filled with unyielding authority. It was clear he was prepared to defend not only his reputation but also the woman who stood beside him. Mia felt a surge of something wild and reckless. She couldn't let this moment pass without doing everything she could to prevent a catastrophe. "No, Luca, I won't let you fight this battle alone," she said, her voice rising above the chaos. "We can find a way to resolve this without violence." But before she could get another word out, the man lunged forward, fists raised, and in an instant, Luca reacted. He sidestepped the attack, moving with a fluid grace that was both terrifying and mesmerizing. With a quick maneuver, he grabbed the man's wrist, twisting it behind his back, and the tension in the room shifted. "Back down," Luca growled, his voice a mixture of menace and authority. The violent man struggled against Luca's hold, but it was clear who commanded the power in that moment. Mia's heart raced as she observed the sheer strength and control he possessed, a stark reminder of the world he inhabited. "Let him go. You don't have to prove anything," she shouted, desperation lacing her voice. "Just walk away." For a fleeting moment, Luca's gaze flickered to her, and she saw a glimmer of conflict in his eyes. "You don't understand, Mia. If I show weakness, it will only fuel their fire," he insisted, his voice low but strained. "This is how it works." "Maybe showing strength means knowing when to walk away," she countered, stepping forward even more, her determination unwavering. "You can choose a different path. You don't have to carry this burden alone." Luca hesitated, and Mia could feel the weight of their shared moment lingering in the air. But just as it seemed they might find common ground, the situation spiraled further out of control. A group of men who had been ejected earlier re-entered the venue, their faces twisted in anger, their intentions clear. "Look who decided to show up," one of them sneered, stepping forward with a menacing grin. "We're not done here. Stay close," Luca instructed, positioning himself in front of her once more, his body a shield against the impending chaos. Mia could only nod, her breath catching in her throat as adrenaline flooded her veins. As Luca prepared to confront this new threat, Mia felt a surge of empowerment. She had come this far, she wasn't about to back down now. "Luca, listen to me," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "This isn't just about you. It's about us. Maybe we can find a way to end this without more violence." The tension in the air crackled like static electricity, and for a moment, it seemed as if the world around them paused. Luca's expression softened slightly as he looked at her, the weight of her words sinking in. "They won't let it go," he replied, his voice laced with resignation. But I can't let you get hurt. I can handle myself, she insisted. I won't let you protect me at the cost of your own safety. We can face this together. At that moment, Mia realized that their connection had deepened beyond mere attraction. They shared an understanding forged in the fires of chaos, a bond that only intensified the stakes. The fight was no longer just about rivalry, it was about the choices they would make for each other. Luca looked at her, his resolve wavering. If we do this, there will be no turning back, he warned, his voice low and serious. Then let's face it together, she challenged, her heart pounding with determination. Whatever happens, I'm with you. Before he could respond, the other men advanced, and the room erupted into chaos. The stakes had never been higher. Mia clenched her fists, ready to fight for what she believed in, for Luca, for their chance at something more. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. As the chaos began to settle and the dust of their confrontation cleared, Mia and Luca found themselves standing together, the aftermath of the chaos hanging heavily in the air. They both took a moment to breathe, the adrenaline pulsing through their veins, and turned to face each other. Luca's piercing gaze softened, revealing the vulnerable side he had only shown glimpses of before. I didn't want you to see that side of me, he admitted, running a hand through his dark hair, the tension of the evening still etched on his face. But you were right. I can't do this without you, Mia. There was a sincerity in his voice that made her heart flutter, even amidst the remnants of fear they had just faced. Mia stepped closer, her green eyes searching his for understanding. Luca, we're in this together now. You can't keep trying to shoulder everything alone. You need to let me in. The urgency of her words came from a place deep within, a newfound strength that had blossomed through their shared struggle. He looked down for a moment, as if weighing her words, then met her gaze again, the intensity of his expression revealing a mixture of awe and respect. I've never met anyone like you. You challenge me, and I need that more than you know, he confessed, his voice low and earnest. With each passing moment, the space between them seemed to shrink, the electric tension of their earlier encounters shifting into something more profound. You're not just a waitress to me, Mia. You're becoming something much more significant, he added, his voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly would break the spell they were under. Mia's heart raced as she processed his words. She had never intended to fall into his world, yet here she was, entwined in a life that was both exhilarating and terrifying. We can build something together, Luca. You don't have to be alone anymore, she replied, her voice resonating with conviction. Luca's expression softened, and for a moment, the weight of his past seemed to lift, replaced with the possibilities of a future they could share. I want to believe that, he said, his tone filled with hope. But there are still dangers lurking. This life, it's complicated. We'll figure it out, Mia assured him, her resolve unshakable. Together, we can confront whatever comes our way. You deserve to live without the constant fear of your past. In that moment, something shifted between them. Luca stepped closer, his breath mingling with hers, charged with unspoken promises. I'll protect you, Mia. I don't want to lose you, he murmured, the weight of his words settling into the air around them. Just then, a sound from outside interrupted their intimate moment, a reminder of the world they were still part of. The tension returned, but this time it felt different, like a challenge they were ready to face together. Mia took a step back, her heart pounding as reality crashed back in. We need to get out of here, she urged, glancing toward the door. They won't give up easily. Luca nodded, his expression hardening once more as he shifted back into the formidable man she had first encountered. Let's go. Stick close to me, he instructed, leading the way as they navigated through the remnants of the chaos. As they reached the entrance, the sounds of the city enveloped them, a stark contrast to the tension that had filled the room moments before. The night was alive, bustling with energy, but Mia felt a sense of safety now that Luca was by her side. With every step, their bond felt stronger, forged in the fire of adversity. Luca, can we talk about what happens next? She began, but he interrupted her with a shake of his head. Not here. We need a safe place, he replied, his expression firm. I have a penthouse nearby. It's secure. The promise of safety filled Mia with a sense of relief, but it was also laced with anticipation. She was stepping deeper into his world, and there was no turning back now. Lead the way, she said, her heart racing with excitement and fear. As they made their way through the bustling streets, Mia couldn't help but feel the weight of what lay ahead. The shadows of Luca's past loomed over them, but she was determined to face whatever challenges would come. When they finally reached the building, its modern elegance stood in stark contrast to the chaos they had just left behind. Luca ushered her through the lobby, his demeanor shifting seamlessly from protector to host as they entered the penthouse. Once inside, Luca closed the door behind them, the noise of the city fading away, leaving just the two of them in the luxurious space. Mia glanced around, taking in the opulent furnishings and the breathtaking view of the city skyline. This place is incredible, she breathed, momentarily distracted from the weight of the night. It's just a place, Luca replied, moving closer to her. What matters is who we are together. Mia felt her breath catch in her throat as she looked up at him, the tension between them palpable. This is just the beginning, isn't it? She whispered, her heart full of hope. Luca nodded, his expression serious yet warm. Yes, but it won't be easy. We'll face trials that will test us both. I'm ready for that, Mia asserted, taking a step closer to him. I'm not going anywhere. In that moment, a silent promise passed between them, a shared understanding that they would navigate this unpredictable journey side by side. Let's talk about what comes next, then, Luca said, his voice steady. But first, I need to know if you're truly committed to this. More than ever, Mia replied, her voice unwavering. Then let's make it count, Luca said, reaching out to take her hand, their connection solidifying as they faced the uncertain future together. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. As the dawn broke over the city, the first light spilled into the penthouse, illuminating the space that had become a sanctuary for Mia and Luca. The events of the previous night felt surreal, almost like a distant dream. They had faced chaos together, and now, in the quiet aftermath, a sense of peace settled between them. Mia, with her vibrant red hair cascading over her shoulders, sat on the plush couch, her heart still racing from the intensity of their shared experience. Luca stood by the window, looking out at the city sprawled beneath them. The world seemed so vast and filled with possibilities, yet it felt small when he turned to look at her. His eyes, usually so guarded, held a softness that made her breath hitch. We made it through, he said, his voice low, almost reverent. But it doesn't mean the danger is gone. I know, Mia replied, her gaze steady as she met his. But I'm not afraid. We faced it together, and we can do it again. I won't run away from this. He stepped closer, the weight of his presence both comforting and thrilling. The chemistry that crackled between them was undeniable, forged in the furnace of their trials. You have no idea what you're getting into. My world is not safe, Mia. I can't promise you it won't hurt. But it already has, she countered, her voice firm. And yet, I still want to be here. I want to understand you, to be part of your life, no matter how complicated it is. Luca's expression shifted, a mix of admiration and fear flickering across his face. You're incredibly brave, he said, his voice thick with emotion. That's what makes it so hard for me. I don't want to put you in harm's way. Mia took a step closer, reaching out to touch his hand. You won't lose me. I promise. Just let me in. Let me see the real you behind the Mafia boss facade. For a moment, they stood in silence, the unspoken promises hanging heavily in the air. Luca's grip tightened around her hand, grounding them both. You have no idea how much I want to believe that. But I have enemies, and they won't stop. Not until they get what they want. I'm not afraid of them, she declared defiantly, her green eyes sparkling with determination. I can handle myself. I won't let fear dictate what I want. A ghost of a smile crossed Luca's lips, but it was quickly replaced by a frown. You don't understand the risks. There are things in my past that I can't change. I've made choices that haunt me. Then let's face them together, Mia insisted, her heart racing with each word. We can confront whatever demons are lurking in the shadows. I refuse to let your past dictate our future. He studied her, searching for any hint of hesitation, any sign that she might falter. Instead, he found resolve. You're different from anyone I've ever met. I need to protect you, Mia. And I need to be with you, she replied, her voice unwavering. I can't walk away from this. Not now that I've seen who you really are beneath the surface. Luca sighed, the weight of their situation crashing over him. This isn't just about you and me. It's bigger than that. There are people who would hurt you to get to me. I can take care of myself, she reassured him, her hands still holding his. But I won't be a passive player in this. I want to be part of your life, Luca. Let me help you. A moment of silence stretched between them, filled with the intensity of their connection. Luca's gaze softened as he absorbed her words. You're willing to face this with me? Absolutely, Mia said, her voice steady. I'm not going anywhere. A slow smile spread across his face, and for the first time, it felt genuine, like a glimpse of the man he could become. Then let's make this work. Together. As they spoke, the sun's rays continued to fill the penthouse, symbolizing a new beginning. This was not just a turning point in their relationship but also a moment of transformation for both of them. They had faced darkness and emerged stronger, ready to take on whatever came next. Mia couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement mixed with apprehension. They were diving into uncharted waters, but she felt a fierce determination to navigate this path alongside him. What do we do now? She asked, her heart racing at the thought of their next steps. For now, we lay low, Luca replied, his demeanor shifting to that of the cautious strategist. I have some contacts who can help us stay safe. But we need to be smart about this. I trust you, Mia said, her voice firm. Just promise me that we'll face whatever comes together. I promise, he said, his gaze locking onto hers. We will fight this, and I will do everything in my power to keep you safe. As they stood together, the weight of the world around them began to feel lighter. This was the start of something profound, a journey that would lead them through love and danger, through trials and triumphs. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps stories like this continue to thrive. Together, they prepared to step into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, united in their resolve to keep each other safe and build a future filled with love.